The emergency alarm echoed through the massive council chamber, cutting through the peaceful afternoon like a blade. Representatives from 40 different alien species stopped their conversations and turned toward the central platform where the communications officer stood, his blue skin pale with fear. Ambassador Zixthor of the Pleiadian Consortium felt his 3 hearts begin to race. In 200 years of service, he had never heard that particular alarm. It meant only one thing: a colony was in mortal danger. The communications officer's hands shook as he activated the playback system. Static filled the air first, then a voice broke through, desperate and afraid. Every translator in the room worked simultaneously to convert the words into languages the gathered species could understand. "This is Governor Malketh of Valara Prime, calling any Federation vessel in range. We are under attack. I repeat, we are under attack. Unknown hostiles have entered our system. Our defense fleet has been destroyed. Civilian evacuation is underway, but we need help immediately. They came from the Dark Zone, from the territory marked as Sol System Space. We count 17 warships approaching at impossible speeds. They will reach orbit in less than 6 hours. Please, anyone who can hear this, send help. Send military forces. Send anything. We cannot hold them off alone. This is Governor Malketh of Valara Prime. If anyone receives this message, please help us before..." The message ended in a burst of static, and then silence. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives began shouting questions, demanding answers, calling for emergency military deployment. But Ambassador Zixthor sat frozen in his seat, his mind racing through the implications of what he had just heard. High Chancellor Vexnar, leader of the Galactic Federation Council, raised his 6 arms for silence. His ancient voice carried authority that cut through the panic. "Silence. We must think clearly. Communications officer, replay the message and show us the location data." The message played again, and this time a holographic star map appeared above the central platform. A red dot marked Valara Prime, a peaceful agricultural colony on the outer rim of Federation space. Beyond it, in the darker regions of unexplored space, another marker appeared labeled Sol System. Council member Thoraquin rose from her seat, her 4 eyes wide with concern. "The Sol System? That is where the humans live. But our last survey classified them as a primitive species. They had barely achieved spaceflight capability. Single pilot craft reaching their own moon. How could they possibly field a military fleet capable of destroying an entire defense force?" Science Director Kelvon pulled up data on his personal screen, his tentacles moving rapidly across the controls. The last official contact was 2 standard cycles ago. Our observation vessel reported that humans had achieved basic orbital mechanics and had established a small station circling their homeworld. They showed no signs of faster-than-light capability, no signs of military expansion beyond their own planet. This makes no sense. "Perhaps our intelligence was wrong," suggested military coordinator Zephyrin, a tall insectoid being whose species had not seen warfare in over 1,000 years. Perhaps the humans were hiding their true capabilities. Perhaps this was planned. Ambassador Zixthor finally found his voice. Or perhaps something pushed them to advance faster than we thought possible. What do we know about their world? About their nature? Kelvon pulled up more data, and the holographic display shifted to show a blue and green planet rotating slowly. Earth, 3rd planet from their star. Gravity approximately 9.8 meters per second squared, which is significantly higher than most Federation homeworlds. Atmospheric composition includes unusually high oxygen levels. Surface conditions vary from extreme heat to extreme cold. The planet hosts an unusual number of apex predators and natural disasters. "A death world," whispered Thoraquin, using the term that spacefaring civilizations reserved for planets too dangerous for normal colonization. "We did not classify it as such in the official report," Kelvon said defensively. "It falls into the category of high-stress environment worlds, but humans evolved there naturally. We assumed they had adapted to survive, not that they would be particularly dangerous themselves." High Chancellor Vexnar studied the star map with growing concern. "How long until we can get military forces to Valara Prime?" Zephyrin calculated quickly. "Our nearest defense fleet is stationed at the Korvax system. At maximum cruise speed, they could arrive in approximately 4 days. However, Chancellor, our forces are not designed for combat. The Federation has not engaged in warfare for over 3,000 years. Our ships are equipped with defensive shields and basic weapons, but against 17 warships that destroyed Valara Prime's defenses in hours, I cannot guarantee success. We have to try, declared Thoriquin. We cannot abandon a Federation colony to invasion. Send the fleet immediately. Send every available vessel. Agreed, Vexnar said. But we must also understand what we are dealing with. Kelevon, I want everything we have on human biology, psychology, and military history. If we are going to face them, we need to know what they are capable of. The science director worked his controls again, and data began flowing across multiple screens. What appeared made several council members physically recoil in shock. Humans are bipedal carbon-based life forms, Kelvon began. Average height approximately 1.7 meters, mass around 70 kilograms. But these numbers hide the reality of their physiology. They evolved as persistence hunters on a world filled with larger, stronger predators. They survived not through superior strength or natural weapons, but through endurance, intelligence, and pack cooperation. Images of Earth's history appeared on the displays. Ancient humans chasing prey across vast distances. Humans building tools and weapons. Humans domesticating animals and plants. Humans surviving ice ages and droughts and volcanic eruptions. Their pain tolerance is extraordinary by our standards, Kelvon continued. They produce a chemical called adrenaline that enhances their physical capabilities during stress. They can continue functioning with injuries that would incapacitate most Federation species. Their immune systems are aggressive and adaptable, having evolved to fight countless diseases and parasites on their overcrowded homeworld. Show us their military history, Vexnar commanded. The displays changed again, and council members gasped or made sounds of distress in their various languages. Human history was filled with warfare. Constant, brutal, innovative warfare spanning thousands of years. Armies of thousands clashing with primitive weapons. Navies battling across vast oceans. Aircraft dueling in the skies. And finally, weapons capable of destroying entire cities in single explosions. They have been fighting each other for their entire recorded history, Kelevon said quietly. Only in the last 100 years of their development did they achieve a fragile global peace. And even that peace was maintained through the threat of mutually assured destruction. They reached space not because they overcame their violent nature, but because they finally found something more interesting than killing each other. Ambassador Zixthor felt cold despite the comfortable temperature of the chamber. And now 17 ships full of these creatures are attacking a Federation colony. What could they possibly want? Resources? Territory? Revenge for some unknown slight? We do not know, Vexnar admitted. But we will find out. Zephyrin, send the defense fleet immediately. Arm them with everything we have. Kelvon, prepare a complete briefing on human capabilities for our military commanders, and someone try to establish communication with these human vessels. If there is any chance of resolving this peacefully, we must take it. As the council dispersed to carry out their orders, Zixthor remained in his seat, staring at the holographic image of Earth rotating slowly in the display. Something about this situation felt wrong to him. Humans had barely achieved spaceflight 2 years ago. How had they built 17 warships in such a short time? How had they crossed 60 light-years of space? And most importantly, why would a species that had just discovered they were not alone in the universe immediately launch an invasion, unless they were not invading at all? The thought struck him like lightning. He pulled up the original message again and listened carefully to every word. Governor Malkath said the ships came from Sol system space. He said they were approaching at impossible speeds. He said the defense fleet was destroyed. But what if the defense fleet had fired first? What if Valara Prime had mistaken a human exploration fleet for an invasion force? Zixthor tried to access human communication frequencies, but he had no idea what protocols they used. The Federation had not established formal contact yet. Everything they knew about humans came from distant observations and intercepted radio signals. He needed more information, but there was no time. The human fleet was already approaching Valara Prime. The Federation defense forces were being mobilized. And somewhere in the darkness of space, two civilizations that knew almost nothing about each other were about to collide. Ambassador Zixthor sent an urgent message to his own ship, ordering his crew to prepare for immediate departure to Valara Prime. He had to get there before the fighting started. He had to understand what the humans really wanted, because if the Federation went to war with a species of Deathworlders, Captain Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the carrier George Washington, watching the alien space station grow larger on the main view screen. Behind him, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, monitoring systems and running final checks before contact. Behind his ship, 16 other vessels maintained perfect formation, their hulls scarred from the hard burn across 60 light-years of space. Jack was 42 years old, a career Navy officer who had transferred to the new Space Force when humanity first reached beyond Earth's orbit. He had expected to spend his career managing satellite deployments and space station logistics. Instead, 3 days ago, he had received the strangest order of his life: take every available warship and respond to an alien distress call. Distance to the station? Jack asked his navigation officer. 200,000 kilometers in closing, sir, Lieutenant Greg Palmer responded. Their orbital mechanics are strange. The station is not following a standard gravity well pattern. I think it is holding position with some kind of propulsion system we do not understand. Weird, muttered Commander Paul Henderson, Jack's second-in-command. Paul was younger, only 35, but he had proven himself during the crisis situations that came with humanity's rapid expansion into space. Everything about this situation is weird. We pick up what sounds like a distress call. We haul across half the galaxy to help, and when we get here they start screaming at us to go away. Jack nodded grimly. The welcome had not been what they expected. As soon as the fleet dropped out of their experimental high-speed burn and entered the Valara Prime system, they had been hit with hundreds of radio signals in languages their computers could not immediately translate. When the artificial intelligence finally sorted through the chaos, the message was clear. The aliens thought humanity was invading. Communications, what is the status of the translation program? Jack asked. Lisa Martinez looked up from her station, her dark hair tied back in a regulation bun, her face showing the exhaustion they all felt. The AI has identified approximately 300 different alien languages in the broadcasts we are receiving. It has managed to create rough translation matrices for about 40 of them. The good news is that most of these species seem to use a common trade language for official communications. The bad news is that our response keeps getting mistranslated. How bad are we talking? Paul asked. Well, when we said we are here to help, their translation apparently rendered it as we are here to claim what is ours. When we asked them to clarify their situation, they understood it as a demand for surrender. And when we said we picked up their distress call, they have no idea what we are talking about because apparently they do not have a direct equivalent for the concept of SOS. Jack rubbed his eyes. He had not slept in 30 hours. None of them had. The emergency burn to reach this system had pushed the fleet to its absolute limits. They had lost one fusion reactor to overheating on the carrier Independence. The crew of the destroyer San Francisco had spent 2 days in high-gravity couches pulling 15 Gs because their inertial dampeners had failed. Everyone was exhausted, stressed, and now they were facing a potential interstellar incident because of translation errors. This is insane, Jack muttered. We came here to rescue them, and they think we are conquering them. Sir, incoming transmission, Lisa announced. It is on a direct beam just for us. The source is identifying itself as Governor Malketh of Valara Prime. The AI says this is the same individual who sent the original message we picked up. Put it through, Jack ordered, straightening his uniform. The view screen changed, and for the first time Jack saw an alien face. Governor Malketh looked vaguely reptilian, with green-scaled skin and large yellow eyes that blinked sideways. His head was topped with a crest of bright feathers that seemed to shift colors based on his emotional state. When he spoke, his mouth did not quite match the translated words they heard. Human Captain, I am Governor Malketh. I sent the transmission 3 of your days ago that your vessels apparently received. I must ask you directly, are you here to conquer my world? Jack leaned forward, speaking slowly and clearly. Governor Malketh, I am Captain Jack Morrison of the United Earth Space Force. We are not here to conquer anyone. We received what our systems interpreted as a distress signal. A call for help. We believed your colony was under attack and needed rescue. That is why we came. The governor's feathers shifted from red to blue, a change that the AI helpfully noted might indicate surprise or confusion. A call for help. Captain Morrison, I sent that transmission because our long-range sensors detected 17 unknown warships entering our system at speeds far exceeding normal travel velocity. Our defense fleet moved to intercept, and your vessels destroyed 3 of our ships before we ordered a full retreat. Jack felt his stomach drop. Your ships fired on us? You were approaching our world with obvious military intent at what we calculated was attack speed. Of course we engaged, and your response was immediate and devastating. Captain, your vessels destroyed 3 of our defense ships in less than 30 seconds. We lost 47 people. After that, we transmitted our surrender and evacuated our orbital stations, expecting invasion. The bridge crew exchanged shocked looks. Jack turned to his tactical officer. Lieutenant Danny Warren, what happened when we entered this system? Danny pulled up the tactical logs, his face going pale as he reviewed them. Sir, when we dropped out of high-speed burn, our sensors were still rebooting. We detected multiple objects approaching at high velocity. The automated defense systems classified them as missiles and engaged with point defense railguns. 3 targets were destroyed before I could override the system. Sir, I did not realize they were occupied vessels. The sensors were showing them as weapons. Jack closed his eyes. They had killed 47 people by accident. 47 aliens who thought they were defending their home from invasion. Governor Malketh, Jack said carefully, there has been a terrible mistake. Our sensors were not functioning properly when we arrived. Our automated systems mistook your defense ships for weapons and engaged them. I take full responsibility for those deaths. We did not intend to harm anyone. We thought we were responding to your call for help. The governor's feathers shifted through several colors rapidly, but I did not call for help, Captain. I sent a warning to the Federation that unknown hostiles were entering our space. A warning, not a request for rescue. Lisa was frantically working at her station. Sir, I think I found the problem. When the AI first tried to translate the governor's message, it encountered a term it did not recognize. The alien word roughly means to alert others of danger. Our system rendered it as distress call because that was the closest equivalent in our database. And when the governor said unknown hostiles were approaching, the translation software assumed he meant he was under attack by someone else, not that he was warning others about us. So their warning message became our rescue mission, Paul said quietly, and our rescue fleet became their invasion force. Jack looked back at the screen where Governor Malketh waited. Governor, I believe we need to start this first contact over from the beginning. We are not your enemy. Earth received a message that we believed was a call for help. We mobilized every available vessel to come to your aid. We have traveled 60 light-years in 3 days. We have pushed our ships and crews to the breaking point, all because we thought someone was in danger and needed help. You traveled 60 light-years in 3 days to rescue people you have never met? The governor's feathers had turned a deep purple color. That is not possible. Even Federation ships require weeks to cover such distances. We do not have Federation technology, Jack admitted. We have experimental fusion drives in desperation. Governor, on Earth, when someone sends a distress call, you answer it. You do not calculate the cost or the risk. You just go. That is what we did. We heard what we thought was someone asking for help, and we came. The governor was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. Captain Morrison, I think I am beginning to understand that humans and the Federation species are very different. We have been at peace for thousands of years. We have forgotten what it means to rush toward danger instead of away from it. But you humans, you heard a cry for help and you came running, even though it meant pushing your primitive vessels to their limits. Even though you knew nothing about us. That is correct, Governor. Then I think I owe you an apology as well, Captain, and I think the Federation Council needs to meet with you immediately. Because if your species responds to danger the way you have just demonstrated, the galaxy needs to understand what kind of beings have just joined the community of worlds. Jack felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. Governor, we would welcome the opportunity to explain ourselves, and to make amends for the lives we accidentally took. Those deaths will haunt me for the rest of my life. As they should, Captain. But I believe you when you say it was an accident. No species that rushes across the galaxy to rescue strangers would casually murder defenders doing their duty. Come, let us dock your vessel at the station. Let us talk face to face. And let us try to prevent this. The Emergency Federation Council meeting took place aboard the massive diplomatic vessel, Harmony's Light, which had arrived at Valara Prime just hours after the human fleet. The ship was 3 kilometers long and designed to host gatherings of hundreds of different species, each with their own environmental requirements. The main council chamber was a marvel of technology. with holographic communication allowing representatives from 40 worlds to participate simultaneously. Ambassador Zixthor stood near the main viewing port, watching the human fleet maintain their position in perfect formation outside the station. He had spent the journey from the Federation capital reviewing every piece of information available about humans, and what he learned both fascinated and terrified him. "The Council will come to order," High Chancellor Vexnar announced, his ancient voice carrying authority despite speaking through a translator. "We are here to discuss first contact with the species known as humans, and to determine the appropriate Federation response to their presence in our space." Governor Malketh took his place at the speaker's platform. His feathers were a neutral green, indicating calm but cautious emotions. "Honored Council members, I have spoken directly with the human captain named Jack Morrison. After reviewing all available data and communication logs, I believe the initial incident was a tragic misunderstanding, not an act of war. 47 of your people are dead," Councilmember Thoraquin stated, her 4 eyes focused intently on the governor. "How can that be a misunderstanding?" "Because the humans thought we were asking them to rescue us," Malketh explained. "Their translation systems interpreted my warning message as a distress call. They believed we were under attack by some unknown force. When our defense ships intercepted them, their automated systems engaged, mistaking our vessels for weapons. By the time their crew realized what was happening, the damage was done." Xenobiologist Quintal activated his display, showing detailed information about human physiology. "I have analyzed the human vessels and crew capabilities. What they accomplished to reach this system is remarkable and disturbing. They traveled 60 light-years in 3 standard days. No species achieves such speeds without significant risk." "Show us," Vexnar commanded. The central holographic display changed to show a cutaway view of a human warship. Quintal used his tentacles to highlight different systems as he spoke. Human vessels use fusion reactors to generate thrust. Primitive compared to our gravitational drive systems, but effective. To reach Valara Prime as quickly as they did, they had to maintain constant acceleration at levels that would kill most Federation species. "How did they survive?" asked Medical Officer Yara Esh, a delicate crystalline being whose species found even normal spaceflight stressful. "That is the disturbing part," Quintal replied. "Humans evolved on a high-gravity world. Their bodies are designed to function under stress that would crush us. During their journey here, the crews experienced sustained acceleration forces exceeding 15 times standard gravity. Our medical analysis suggests this would cause organ failure, skeletal damage, and death in 90% of known spacefaring species. The humans found it merely uncomfortable." Shocked sounds rippled through the council chamber. Yaraisha's crystalline form literally chimed with distress. 15 Gs? For 3 days? That is not possible. For us, no. For them, it is just extremely unpleasant, Quintal confirmed. And they did this willingly, without hesitation, because they believed someone needed rescue. "I have reviewed their ship logs." Captain Morrison authorized the emergency burn protocol within 2 hours of receiving what they thought was a distress call. He mobilized 17 vessels, over 3,000 crew members, and departed Earth with minimal preparation. Science Director Kelvon added his analysis. "I have studied their homeworld extensively since the incident. Earth is what we would classify as a high-stress environment world, bordering on Deathworld classification. Surface gravity nearly twice our standard, atmospheric pressure that would be dangerous to most of us, weather patterns that include violent storms, extreme temperature variations, and natural disasters." The display changed to show Earth, rotating slowly. Images appeared showing hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, tornadoes, and blizzards. "Their planet is trying to kill them constantly," Kelvon continued. "And they not only survive, they thrive. They built civilizations in deserts where temperatures exceed 50 degrees. They built cities in regions where the ground regularly shakes and tears apart. They settled in areas where volcanic eruptions destroyed entire populations, then returned and rebuilt. They are persistence incarnate," Quintal added. "On Earth, humans were not the strongest predator. They were not the fastest or the largest. But they could outlast anything. They would chase prey animals for days until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They survived ice ages by simply adapting and continuing. When diseases killed millions, the survivors developed immunity and continued. They are biologically programmed to never give up." Ambassador Zixthor finally spoke up. "And this is the species we almost went to war with because of a translation error," a species that responds to cries for help by pushing themselves to their physical limits. A species that evolved to never surrender, never stop, never abandon their own. That is what concerns me, Thorquinn said. If they are so aggressive, so persistent, so physically superior to most Federation species, what happens when they decide they want something we have? How do we defend ourselves against Deathworlders? Yara-Esh pulled up the human military history files that had been gathered. Their capacity for warfare is unprecedented in modern Federation records. They have been fighting each other for thousands of years. Look at these weapon systems. Look at these strategies. They have technology specifically designed to destroy cities, poison entire regions, burn forests, sink ships, shoot down aircraft. They have tactical doctrines covering every possible combat scenario, from individual close-quarters fighting to planetary bombardment. They perfected the art of killing, Kelvon said quietly, not because they are evil, but because survival on their world required it. Competition for resources, defense against predators, protection of territory, all of it led to constant conflict. Only in their very recent history did they achieve global cooperation, and even that is fragile. Then how do we handle first contact with such a species? Vexnar asked. Do we offer them Federation membership? Do we quarantine their system? Do we attempt to guide their development? Governor Malketh spoke again. With respect, Chancellor, I do not think we have a choice in whether to engage with humans. They are here. They have faster-than-light capability, even if it is primitive. They have weapons that proved effective against our defenses, and most importantly, they have shown us something the Federation has forgotten. What is that, Governor? They showed us courage, Malketh said. When they thought someone was in danger, they did not form a committee. They did not debate the political implications. They did not calculate cost versus benefit. They simply came to help. How long has it been since any Federation species did something like that? How long since we risked anything for strangers? The council chamber fell silent. It was an uncomfortable truth. The Federation had achieved peace and prosperity through careful diplomacy, measured responses, and calculated risk management. The idea of racing into unknown danger to help people you had never met was almost incomprehensible to most species. I have spoken with Captain Morrison, Malketh continued. He is not a conqueror. He is not a warlord. He is a man who heard someone in trouble and tried to help. Yes, humans are dangerous. Yes, they are capable of terrible violence, but they are also capable of incredible compassion. They will push themselves to destruction to save others. Is that not the exact quality we should want in Federation members? Quintal adjusted his display. I have been analyzing their fleet composition. These are not dedicated warships. They are converted colony vessels, cargo transports, and exploration craft that were hastily equipped with weapons. Captain Morrison did not bring a military invasion force. He brought everything that could fly fast enough to reach us in time. That speaks to desperation, not aggression. It speaks to poor planning, Thorquinn countered. What if they had encountered actual hostiles on the way here? What if their modified ships had failed? They could have killed themselves trying to rescue us. Yes, Zixthor said. That is exactly my point. They knew the risks and came anyway. How many Federation species would do that? Vexnar studied the data carefully. Medical Officer Yara-Esh, if we grant humans access to Federation space, what precautions would we need? Significant ones, Chancellor. Their biology is so robust compared to ours that they could accidentally harm other species without intending to. A human handshake could break a Valtorian's limb. Their normal speaking voice is uncomfortably loud for several species. They carry microorganisms that would be harmless to them, but could devastate species with less aggressive immune systems. We would need extensive quarantine protocols and safety guidelines. But it is manageable? Vexnar pressed. Yes, Chancellor. Difficult, but manageable. The High Chancellor looked around the chamber at the assembled. The neutral meeting station floated in space between the human fleet and the Federation diplomatic vessel. It was a temporary structure, hastily assembled from modular components to provide a secure environment where both sides could meet face-to-face. The station's environmental systems had been carefully calibrated to accommodate human biology, though several Federation representatives had expressed concern about the high gravity and atmospheric pressure. Captain Jack Morrison walked through the airlock with Commander Paul Henderson at his side and Lisa Martinez just behind them. All three wore their dress uniforms, dark blue with silver insignia indicating their ranks and positions. They had spent hours being briefed on basic Federation customs, learning which gestures might be offensive and which species required special consideration. On the other side of the conference chamber, Governor Malketh waited with High Chancellor Vexnar and Ambassador Zixthor. Several other Federation representatives attended via hologram, their images floating in designated spaces around the room. "Captain Morrison," Malketh said, his translator rendering his clicking speech into English. "Welcome. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us." Jack stepped forward and performed the greeting gesture they had been taught, placing his right hand over his heart and bowing slightly. "Governor Malketh, High Chancellor Vexnar, Ambassador Zixthor, thank you for receiving us. I want to begin by offering my deepest apologies for the deaths of your people. Those 47 lives weigh heavily on my conscience." "We understand." "It was an accident, Captain," Malketh replied, his feathers shifting to a sympathetic blue color. "A terrible accident born from misunderstanding but not malice. We have reviewed your ship logs. Your automated systems reacted to perceived threats while your sensors were compromised. In your position, our own vessels might have done the same." Vexnar gestured toward the conference table. "Please let us sit. We have much to discuss." As they settled into their seats, Jack was struck by how different the Federation representatives looked from each other. Malketh with his reptilian features and color-changing feathers. Vexnar, who appeared almost plant-like with green skin and root-like appendages extending from his head. Zixthor, whose blue skin seemed to shimmer with an internal light. The hologram showed even more variety. Insectoid beings, crystalline entities, creatures that looked like floating jellyfish. "Captain Morrison, we want to understand your species better," Vexnar began. "Your actions have raised many questions. You traveled 60 light-years at speeds that should have killed your crew. You mobilized your entire available fleet based on a single message you barely understood. You risked everything to rescue people you had never met. This behavior is unusual by Federation standards." Paul leaned forward. "With respect, Chancellor, is it unusual to help people in danger?" "Not unusual, Commander Henderson, but your response was immediate and extreme. Most Federation species would have sent a probe first to assess the situation, or transmitted a message asking for clarification, or consulted with neighboring systems to determine if military intervention was appropriate. You did none of these things. You simply came." Jack nodded slowly. "On Earth, when someone sends a distress call, every second counts. People could be dying. Waiting to gather more information might mean arriving too late. So yes, we came immediately. We brought weapons because we did not know what we would find, but our primary mission was rescue, not conquest." Zixthor spoke up, his voice gentle. "We have studied your history, Captain. Your species has been at war with itself for thousands of years. Your planet has seen countless conflicts, from small tribal disputes to global wars involving weapons of mass destruction. Can you help us understand how a species with such a violent past can also be so willing to risk everything for strangers?" Lisa answered this time. "Ambassador, our history is violent, that is true. But it is also the story of humans protecting each other. Yes, we fought wars. But we also built hospitals and schools. We created laws to protect the weak. We developed concepts like human rights and international cooperation. Our violence and our compassion come from the same source. We care deeply about our communities. Sometimes that caring leads to conflict when we disagree about what is right, but it also leads to sacrifice when someone in our community needs help." "And you consider the Federation to be part of your community now?" Malketh asked. "We consider anyone who asks for help to be part of our community," Jack said firmly. "That is why we came. That is why we will always come." Vexnar studied the humans carefully. "I must be direct with you, Captain. Many Federation members are frightened of your species. You are physically stronger than most of us. You are more aggressive. You can survive conditions that would kill us. You have military experience that we abandoned thousands of years ago. Some council members believe integrating humans into Federation space would be dangerous." "They are right to be concerned," Jack admitted. "We are dangerous. Any species that evolved on Earth would have to be dangerous to survive. But being capable of violence is not the same as wanting violence. Yes, we have weapons. Yes, we know how to fight. But we would much rather be friends. Can you guarantee that? Thoraquin's hologram asked. Can you promise that humans will never use their abilities to harm Federation members? Jack met her four-eyed gaze steadily. No, I cannot make that guarantee. I cannot promise that every human will always make the right choice. Just like you cannot promise that every member of your species will always be peaceful. What I can promise is that Earth's government values cooperation. We want to learn from you. We want to trade with you. We want to explore the galaxy together. And if someone threatens the Federation, we will stand with you. Even though you just met us? Zixthor asked. Even though we just met you, Jack confirmed. That is what allies do. Paul pulled out a datapad. We have prepared a proposal for the Council's consideration. Earth would like to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Federation. In exchange for access to your knowledge and technology, we offer our own unique capabilities. Which are? Vexnar asked. Emergency response, Paul said. You have been at peace for 3,000 years. That is wonderful, truly. But it also means you have lost certain skills. Search and rescue in hostile environments, disaster relief, medical triage, combat expertise. We are not saying you need these things now, but having them available would not hurt. Lisa added, we also offer human determination. You called it persistence. We just call it not giving up. If something needs to be done, if someone needs to be saved, if a problem needs to be solved, humans will keep working at it until we succeed or die trying. That might be useful to the Federation. Malketh's feathers shifted to an amused orange. You are offering to be the Federation's emergency services? In a way, yes, Jack said with a slight smile. Look, we understand we are the new kids here. We have primitive technology and limited knowledge. But we have spirit, we have courage, and we have a very strong instinct to protect others. Use that. Let us help. Vexnar consulted briefly with the other council members via a private channel. When he returned his attention to the humans, his expression was thoughtful. Your proposal has merit, Captain, but there are practical concerns. Your biology is incompatible with most Federation environments. Your presence in low-gravity worlds could cause structural damage simply by existing. Your immune systems carry organisms that could devastate less robust species. How do we manage these risks? Carefully, Jack admitted. We would need extensive training on proper protocols. We would need to modify our equipment to be compatible with your systems. We would need to learn your customs and respect your differences. It would not be easy. But humans are adaptable. Give us the rules, and we will follow them. And if humans break these rules? Thoraquin pressed. What consequences would Earth accept? The same consequences any Federation member would face, Paul said. If a human commits a crime, they should be punished according to Federation law. If a human vessel violates territorial boundaries, it should be detained. We are not asking for special treatment. We are asking for a chance. The conference continued for hours. The Federation representatives asked detailed questions about human capabilities, intentions, and limitations. Jack and his officers answered honestly, hiding nothing. They showed data on human strength and endurance, but also on human vulnerability. They discussed Earth's history of both cooperation and conflict. They acknowledged their mistakes and promised to learn from them. Finally, High Chancellor Vexnar rose from his seat. Captain Morrison, Commander Henderson, Officer Martinez, the Federation Council will need time to deliberate. But I want you to know that your honesty today has impressed many members. You did not hide your species' flaws. You did not exaggerate your abilities. You simply told us the truth about who you are and what you hope to achieve. That is all we can offer, Chancellor, Jack said. The truth and our best intentions. Sometimes that is enough, Vexnar replied. Return to your fleet, Captain. We will contact you soon with our decision. In the meantime, Governor Malketh has offered to provide your vessels with supplies and repair assistance. I hope you will accept. Gratefully, Chancellor, thank you. 3 weeks had passed since the initial misunderstanding at Valara Prime, and the situation had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The human fleet remained in the system, but the atmosphere had changed completely. What began as a near war had evolved into the most intensive cultural exchange in Federation history. Captain Jack Morrison stood in the observation lounge of the George Washington, watching as a Valoran transport shuttle docked with his ship. The lounge had become his favorite place to think during the long waiting period. Through the wide viewport, he could see the other 16 human vessels scattered throughout the orbital space, each one now hosting Federation representatives, scientists, and engineers. Commander Paul Henderson entered the lounge carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this, sir. The engineering teams have been working for 18 hours straight." Jack accepted the cup gratefully. "How is the technology exchange going?" "Better than expected," Paul said, settling into a chair beside his captain. "The Federation engineers are fascinated by our fusion reactors. They keep saying our approach is primitive but innovative. Meanwhile, our people are losing their minds over Federation gravitational drive systems. Chief Engineer Steve Murphy told me this morning that we have been doing space travel on hard mode for no reason." Jack chuckled. "That sounds like Steve. What about the diplomatic front?" "Ambassador Zixthor has been working closely with Lisa to establish proper translation protocols. Apparently, the Federation has been using the same linguistic framework for thousands of years. They are not used to integrating completely new language structures. Our irregular grammar is giving their computers fits." "And the council decision?" Paul's expression grew serious. "Still deliberating. But Zixthor told Lisa privately that the vote is leaning in our favor. Most species recognize that we are trying to cooperate. The holdouts are mainly worried about safety protocols." The door opened again and Lisa Martinez rushed in, her face flushed with excitement. "Captain, you need to see this. The Federation just transmitted a complete database of known habitable worlds. Over 10,000 planets with environments that could potentially support human colonies. They are offering us expansion opportunities as part of the integration package." Jack set down his coffee cup carefully. "They are offering us planets?" "Not exactly," Lisa explained, pulling up a holographic display. "These are unclaimed worlds in regions the Federation considers too high gravity or too environmentally challenging for most species. But for us they would be perfect. Look at this one. Gravity 0.95 Earth standard, oxygen-rich atmosphere, liquid water, diverse ecosystem. The Federation surveyed it 200 years ago and classified it as too dangerous for colonization because of frequent seismic activity. So they are offering us their reject worlds," Paul said. "Their reject worlds are paradises compared to some places humans have settled," Lisa countered. "Antarctica, the Sahara Desert, the Himalayas. We live in places that should kill us. These planets would be easy by our standards." Jack studied the data carefully. Earth had 8 billion people and limited resources. Humanity had been preparing for interstellar colonization for decades, but the technology had always been just out of reach. Now the Federation was offering not just the means to reach new worlds, but detailed surveys of thousands of potential homes. "This is incredible," Jack said quietly, "but it also shows how different we are from them. What they consider uninhabitable, we consider opportunity." The ship's communication system activated. "Captain Morrison, you have an incoming priority transmission from the Federation Council. High Chancellor Vexnar requests your immediate presence." Jack straightened his uniform. "This is it. Paul, Lisa, with me. Let us find out if humanity has a future in the stars, or if we are going home alone." 20 minutes later, Jack stood once again in the conference chamber aboard the neutral station. This time the room was filled with holographic representatives from dozens of Federation species. High Chancellor Vexnar occupied the central platform, flanked by Governor Malketh and Ambassador Zixthor. "Captain Morrison, Commander Henderson, Officer Martinez," Vexnar began formally. "The Federation Council has concluded its deliberations regarding Earth's petition for associate membership. This decision was not made lightly. Your species presents unique challenges and unique opportunities." Jack felt his heart racing but kept his expression neutral. Beside him, Paul and Lisa stood at attention. Vexnar continued, "We have studied your history, your biology, your culture, and your intentions. We have consulted with experts across multiple scientific disciplines. We have debated the risks and benefits of integrating a Deathworld species into our civilization, and we have reached a conclusion." The Chancellor paused. looking directly at Jack. The Galactic Federation Council formally extends an offer of associate membership to the species known as humanity, and the governmental body known as United Earth. This membership is conditional upon completion of mandatory safety training, establishment of proper quarantine protocols, and adherence to Federation law. Do you accept these terms? For a moment, Jack could not speak. 3 weeks ago, he thought they were responding to a rescue mission. Now he was being offered membership in a galactic civilization spanning thousands of worlds. Chancellor Vexnar, Jack said, finding his voice. On behalf of United Earth, I accept these terms with gratitude and humility. We understand that we have much to learn. We understand that we must prove ourselves worthy of this trust, and we promise to work every day to be the kind of species the Federation can be proud to call allies. Around the chamber, holographic representatives made various gestures of approval. Malketh's feathers turned a brilliant gold. Zixthor's skin shimmered with what might have been joy. Then it is official, Vexnar declared. Humanity is now an associate member of the Galactic Federation. Welcome to the community of worlds, Captain Morrison. The formal ceremony continued for another hour, with various council members offering congratulations and discussing next steps. Treaties were signed electronically. Communication protocols were established. Training schedules were distributed. But Jack's mind was already racing ahead to what this meant for Earth. When the official proceedings ended, Governor Malketh approached the human officers privately. Captain, I wanted to speak with you before you return to Earth. The Council has approved a proposal I submitted regarding human integration. What kind of proposal, Governor? The Federation has not faced a major crisis in 3,000 years, Malketh explained. But that does not mean crises do not occur. Natural disasters, medical emergencies, industrial accidents, these things still happen, and we have become complacent in our responses. Our emergency services are slow. Our disaster relief is inefficient. We have forgotten how to act quickly in dangerous situations. Because you have not had to, Paul observed. Exactly, but humans have those skills. You maintain them because your world forces you to maintain them. So I propose that Earth establish a specialized emergency response force. A fleet of vessels and personnel trained specifically for rapid response to disasters anywhere in Federation space. Jack considered this carefully. You want humans to be the Federation's first responders? I want humans to teach us how to be first responders again, Malketh corrected. Your people would train our people. Your techniques would be adapted to our needs. And in genuine emergencies, yes, human crews would respond, because you can survive conditions that would kill most of us. That is a massive responsibility, Governor, but one you have already shown you are capable of fulfilling. You came to Valara Prime at incredible risk to save people you had never met. That is exactly the kind of dedication we need. Lisa spoke up. Governor, would this force operate independently or under Federation command? Joint command, Malketh said. Human officers working alongside Federation coordinators. We need your expertise, but we also need to ensure proper integration with existing systems. This would be a partnership, not a takeover. Jack looked at his officers. Paul nodded slightly. Lisa's eyes were bright with possibility. Governor Malketh, I think Earth would be honored to participate in such a program. But I will need to present this to my superiors for official approval. Of course, take the proposal back to Earth, discuss it with your leaders, and when you return, we will begin training your emergency response force. Malketh's feathers shifted through several colors rapidly, a sign of complex emotions. Captain, 3 weeks ago I thought you were invading my world. Now I am trusting you to help protect my people. That is quite a transformation. 3 weeks ago I thought we would arrive to find your colony under attack, Jack replied. Instead I found new friends and a place among the stars. I would say the transformation goes both ways. Governor. The human officers returned to the George Washington one final time before beginning their journey back to Earth. As the crew prepared for departure, Jack stood on the bridge watching the activity throughout the system. Federation vessels moved in carefully coordinated patterns. Orbital stations bustled with beings from dozens of species. And in the middle of it all, 17 human warships prepared to return home as part of something larger than themselves.